living in a state where you feel joy and gratitude, and committing to continual growth, and finding a way to work where you make a positive impact. That's said. Making it to me.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Come on, we're getting closer. Come on, we're getting
Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. I want to let you know how much I appreciate you joining us on our show every week. If you missed our last interview, you can hear it and all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit, or download our app and take us with you. You can also hear us on iTunes as a podcast. So often I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is Emily Elbert. Raised in Texas on a musical diet of Antonio Carlos Jobim, Stevie Wonder, James Taylor, and 60s radio, Emily Elbert fell in love with guitar when she was 15. She spent her childhood playing piano, and as a teenager inspired by Jimi Hendrix, she began playing guitar and singing. She recorded her first album, Brightside, while in high school, paid for by local gigs and crowdfunding, and began touring the U.S. independently. At 18, Elbert was awarded a full tuition scholarship to Berklee College of Music. While there, she continued to tour nationally and internationally, and has since released a total of 5 solo albums. Music lovers have watched her YouTube videos in droves, including over 500,000 views on her version of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Elbert's latest album, We Who Believe in Freedom, was released in October 2018 and features original music and cover songs focused on social justice. Please welcome my guest today, Emily Elbert. Hi, Emily.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Terry.
Thank you for joining us. I know you have been pretty busy traveling. When we first talked about having you on the show was a few months ago, and this was the first time that you had free. So how's your tour been going?
It's been good. Yeah, actually just wrapped up kind of the last couple of dates here in Northern California over the weekend. So it was great. It was about a 6-week solo run, except for the LA and New York shows were with the full band. But yeah, it was a great tour.
When you play with your full band versus solo, do you have an East Coast and a West Coast band, or do you flying around with the same group of people?
No, it's pretty much, in a number of cities, LA and New York and Boston, Austin, a few other places. There's kind of 5 or so people on each instrument that I can call upon depending on their availability, that know some of the tunes, or we know each other well, and they're great fit for the band. And so it's kind of a rotating cast of characters, but there's always it's kind of magic depending on whoever's available and the way that different people come together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the new paradigm of touring. And it's the same way when I went over to the UK, I used a UK band.
Yeah, totally.
I had a fantastic experience. They dug in and really learned my songs in a way that was really, like you said, magical. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy I enjoy both. I enjoy playing with the same regular group of people, but as I'm sure you do, but there is certainly when you're open, to letting the magic happen, it's kind of a great gift that we get to recreate music, or that you get to recreate your music with different musicians around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a birthday coming up, so I want to begin our conversation by wishing you an early happy birthday. It's in about a week or so, right?
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah.
What are you going to do to celebrate?
Well, this is my 30th birthday, so
yes, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not usually that big on celebrating my birthday because I'd rather just have, if there's going to be a bunch of attention on me, I'd rather like earn it and have it be at a show or something. But this being 30 and all, I'll just get together with friends and go out and eat some good vegetarian food and go for a hike and that sort of thing.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's, it's worth celebrating. Being 30 is that's a feat in itself. So enjoying. I invited you on my show because I'm a fan of your music and I'm also a fan of your story.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we really jump into your story, most of my conversations, I start with your background. Which we'll get to in a moment. But I just want to jump in the deep end of the pool with you right now.
Sure.
Your song True Power, which you released last year, is a protest song about Donald Trump benefiting the American Civil Liberties Union. And on your website, you say, my love for rhythm, harmony, and story sharing is woven in with my compassion for the earth and its people. Songs can be powerful tools used in their defense. As a young queer woman, an environmentalist, and someone who believes in equality and human rights for people of all races, faiths, and cultural backgrounds, I can't sit back and be a silent witness to injustice. Donald Trump may have bought and bullied his way into the presidency, but true power is in the hands of the people when they come together. Wow. That really, I feel like I got to know you from when I read that statement and heard that song. Here's my question. Do you view yourself as an activist musician or more as a musician with a passion and a strong point of view?
Honestly, I don't necessarily see them as that separate. I know that they can be, but my relationship to both of them feels very connected. It's interesting. I got a lot of feedback from when I put out that song, from people that didn't necessarily expect or want to hear me speaking to something like that. Sure. And some of it was kind of, the oft repeated notion of like, just shut up and play. Like we just want to hear you play music, which I understand, and it's can be uncomfortable to hear point of views that differ from your own and that sort of thing. But I also, they seem so inextricably linked. They seem like they come from the same source to me because, these notions of harmony and rhythm, and story, which are all of the makings of music, are also, to me, that seems like the makings of life. Like that's what we come from. Harmony is how we interact, and rhythm is how we move and breathe. And story is the lives that we live. And it's like, it seems, from my own experience, I feel like if I were just making music that didn't engage or speak to what I really feel in my heart and what I feel like is going on in the world, then it would feel inauthentic, because those two seem so kind of the same to me. They seem so inextricably linked. So activism and music, to me, it comes from the same source. So I don't even know. I guess I would consider myself an activist because it's hard for me to imagine it being any other way. I think it's so crucial. But it's kind of like music, where it's like, that's just a part of being alive, is trying to make the world better. Yeah.
And having a point of view.
Yeah, totally. And speaking it authentically, sharing it authentically.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from your statement, which is why I read it in its entirety, because I felt your authenticity.
Thanks.
And I applaud you for that. And I happen to support you and agree with
Thanks.
you in your point of view. But even if I didn't, I would applaud you for it because it's
Thanks,
authentic and there's a clarity and a passion and I was going to ask you but you kind of already answered the question. If you feel that living the life of an artist comes with a larger responsibility to be socially conscious, or if it's just, that's you're using your visibility to express what's in your heart. And like you said, it's both.
Yeah, to me it does. And I'll say, like, there's a lot of albums that I am absolutely crazy about that don't speak to anything of that nature at all. Right. And I think that's okay too. I don't want to prescribe a certain set of morals to anyone who wants to express themselves. Like that's not my place, but it is my place to sort of analyze my own responsibility and see what I can do with what I have been given. And so, yeah, it feels like a responsibility, but one that I will very happily and gratefully accept.
Right. And embrace. And, and also without fear or apology.
Yeah. And sometimes, I think sometimes it's okay to feel a little bit of fear. And of course, sometimes I do, but, a little bit of fear is healthy as long as you process it and figure out where it's coming from and how you want to respond. Right. So maybe sometimes I feel a little bit of fear occasionally if I grew up in Texas. Like, not everyone that listens to my music or has supported me even over the years is going to like what I do. And it is for me, in my experience, it's a pretty human impulse to want to please people, but it's been a really great lesson. Feeling called to put out this music and then sharing it. It's been a really great lesson in releasing my need to please, which is, I think, healthy in all aspects of life.
Well said. Let's talk about your journey from Texas to Boston to LA and everywhere in between. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and growing up in your family. Sure.
So I grew up in Dallas and then kind of a suburb of Dallas called Coppell. It's just me and my younger brother and my parents. And my dad is a pianist. He's a really hardworking, really beautiful pianist in the Dallas area who gigs his ass off all around North Texas.
Nice.
And his mom was a piano teacher, and she taught piano lessons out of her home until she was probably like 93 or so. And his dad was a musician as well.
Wow.
And his brother. And so, music is definitely in the blood.
And were you taught piano? Were you taught piano by your father or your grandmother?
No, I wasn't. And that would have been a beautiful thing, but I wasn't directly. And I also kind of appreciate that because my dad wanted me to have my own path with it. And even though he kind of they mandated that I played piano, which I at times resisted, like any probably 11-year-old or something. But I'm so grateful that was, put in front of me. And so, yeah, I had, just kind of a local classical based piano teacher. And I think there was a lot of, an inherent musicality and inherent appreciation for a lot of what I was learning, but it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't until I found guitar and that it kind of opened a portal to a lot of other things that I was interested in. And both of my parents were really supportive of all that. My mom too, both my parents are from Texas, and my mom and her family are also super supportive. And she also, I think I got a lot of music from my dad, and from my mom, it was a lot of, she was really encouraging in more of a sort of hard work, entrepreneurial, community organizing kind of side of things. And so I'm really grateful for the balance that I got from them in those lessons. But yeah, I think when I finally found guitar, I was 14 or 15 or so, it was like, oh, this is my thing. Like, this is what I'm really turned on by. This, it really kind of shifted my whole sphere of influence and really totally opened up a portal to all kinds of new stuff. So Yeah.
One thing I feel an affinity with you is I read, and I had the same experience as you, that the night that you got your guitar when you were a kid, you went into your room and played it until your fingers bled, and I did as well. So that's why I went. I really want to know this person. I want to know you because
night, man.
Yeah, you went through the torture and the hell of the actual physical, bleed for your art pain to get to the joyful part.
Oh, totally.
What about your singing?
I was drunk on it.
Oh, you were, of course.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So were you singing when you were playing piano, or is that came later when you picked up the guitar?
No, I always kind of secretly wanted to sing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the voice inside me was kind of like, all right, I'm ready when you are. And it took me a long time. But it's definitely, I wanted to, but I was so shy about it. I mean, singing is so personal and so vulnerable.
It's very intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it wasn't until I started playing guitar that I think on the, probably the main thing was that once I had a vehicle for those songs, like I couldn't keep them inside anymore. And the other is that it probably kind of helped for me to have something to hide behind, just like the body of the guitar felt sort of like a shield. I was kind of protected by it. But yeah, once I started playing guitar, that's when I started singing. And I was super shy about it at first, but I realized I wanted to make, really what kind of lit the fire under my heels was that there was this, like a 5-week summer program for high schoolers at Berklee College of Music that I found out about. And I really wanted to go, but it was, it's a big chunk of money to get there.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a scholarship to go to the summer program, I believe, but it's a lot of money. And so that's when I started playing in public and getting over my stage fright. I just started taking like 3-hour gigs in hotel lobbies and coffee houses and all kinds of stuff. Printed out my binder with all these like, 60s tunes and like Jason Mraz and like all that stuff. And just went through the binder and learned a ton of tunes and got over my stage fright. And then through picking up those local gigs, like, raised enough money to make a record with like a local family friend in his home studio, and then had a big release party and did some crowdfunding, and with the help of my community, like sold enough CDs to raise the money to go to the Berklee thing. And so it all kind of like, it was all fueled by just like wanting to go and learn and be a part of like a musical scene. So, and I'd like up until that point, like I didn't really have, my friends weren't, they were into music, but I didn't have a lot of friends who were like, this is my kind of raison d'etre. Like this is,
right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was completely transformative for me.
So how did your early crowdfunding go? I mean, was because sometimes
it was pre-Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And also, even with artists that are established, like, I've worked with some mainstream artists that have done, their own Kickstarter or alternative crowdfunding. It's easier because they already have their fan base built up. So
yeah, totally.
Was it just like cousins and friends from school and
kind of, I mean, so the first one, like when I was trying to raise money to make that, my initial record, which I was like 16, 17, I think 17 when it came out, 16 when I made it. I like took my first song that I ever wrote and burned it onto some CDs and like drew some labels and mailed them out to people and asked if they wanted to contribute. And, trying to make it like to give something back to, but people were super generous with that. And, so, family, friends, local community, and then I would start playing shows and doing it via that as well. Like my grandmother baked a bunch of cookies and I had a release party and, all kinds of things there. And then, I think there is something probably motivating that people feel really generous. It's like I'm like a 16-year-old kid, just like really, really trying to hustle and make this happen. And people were so sweet and supportive.
Right. How could you not want to get behind that? If you're witnessing somebody who's...
I'm still really grateful for it. I remember like
Yeah.
my eighth grade science teacher, or ninth grade science teacher, like when I was trying to make my first CD, he gave me an investment. He gave me $100 bill, and he was like, towards your CD. And I said, well, what can I do in return? And he said, well, why don't you, like every time you make a CD from here on out, I want you to mail it to me. And so like I think he lives in Oregon. He's a dentist now, but like whenever I make a new CD, I'll mail it to my ninth grade science teacher, because he gave me $100 when I was 14 or something.
Right.
And that's, that's huge. And so I felt super bolstered and supported by that community. And, it really gave me a lot of momentum. And then on my second CD, it was all pre-Kickstarter and mostly like pre-social media even. But the second one, I made my little website on the Mac website builder, and I put these PayPal buttons in at different levels, like pretty much exactly the same as how Kickstarter runs now, where like, $20 it's this, or $5 it's this, or, that sort of thing. And so, it was kind of like early crowdfunding, and as far as the internet goes, and then I started doing Kickstarter once that came along.
Right. It's so refreshing to hear that. It's taking me back to my first record also, which is I made the year you were born in 1988.
Nice.
And
nice.
Yeah. But the thing is, that record in a way happened in the same manner. I had a friend who was actually a musician, a singer, who's gone on to have a career, but she had a day job working as a secretary and, singing at night and doing her thing.
Yeah.
And she handed me an envelope with actually $1,000,
oh my
which
God.
was unbelievable, and said, here, take this, go borrow the rest of the money and make your first record. I know you'll pay me back someday.
That's,
and
it's so enormous as like,
it really is
being able to help you create it, but then also just to have someone's support and confidence, just like emotionally, that's so huge.
Yeah, I've never forgotten that, and I'm as you, I'm still eternally grateful for that,
sure,
for just nudging me, to fly, to jump off the cliff. And so let's, you also, well, I'm gonna, I have so much I want to ask you. Let me start with that. You self-manage yourself. You are your own manager and agent, and you're doing your own marketing and publicity. I'm curious how you manage your time between writing, practicing, marketing, performing, recording, and staying healthy. And I'm also curious, and we could do an hour on that, but we won't. But and also, is this by choice? Do you feel more empowered to be? Do you feel that if you had somebody managing you, that your career would propel more quickly or in a different way? Is why are you managing yourself and booking your gigs, and how? So I just asked you like a lot, but
okay, wait. So
let's
let me
start on that.
First, maybe finding the balance.
How do you manage your time and find a balance in your life?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a dance, right? I think probably for everybody it is. But it's an interesting one with music because as you know, I'm sure, you wear a million different hats, and they're also pretty radically different from one another, or they can seem that way. It's a very different skill set and mindset between writing a song and like doing administrative self-promoting stuff. Like those are very different mindsets. So yeah, it's a dance for sure. For me, I'm naturally I'm pretty floaty, and I can be like intrinsically kind of not scatterbrained, but I get excited by a million things and that sort of thing. So I have to be, I just set up systems for myself. Like I'm like a very devoted lister. I have like sort of my master list of things that I'm working on, and then I separate it into all these categories, and I'll use notebooks and a whiteboard and like all kinds of, just like organizational methods to try and make sure that I can handle what I want to accomplish.
So you literally have a whiteboard with a grease pencil up on your wall so you can see it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. Well, I have it. It's like, it's like leaned against my closet right now. It's not like the cutest decor. So I kind of tuck it in the corner when I'm not using it. But yeah, and I use like different notebooks and, to try and, because a lot of times it's these like long-term goals that have short-term actions that you want to break into to like tangible steps. And otherwise it can feel like this just huge amorphous thing and you don't know where to start and it can be really overwhelming. So that's like pretty major for me is figuring out how to break things into step-by-step like tasks and goals. Which is fairly mundane, but really important. And actually sometimes figuring out ways to manage the mundane can help you manifest the magic, That was a lot of M's. I didn't mean for it to be just an alliteration, but
No, not at all. There's a lot of clarity to what you just said.
Yeah, I think it's been really important for me to find how to figure out systems. And then, for me, for example, I think because of my sort of floatiness and also just, in my nature, like I'm really not a very good multitasker. And so, and I also think that, stemming up from the branch of that same tree is that it's really important to me, and feels right to me to try and just be really present with whatever I'm doing in any given moment. So if I am, I'll kind of switch modes. And it's helpful for me to maybe set aside a day or a week or, different periods where like right now I'm in business mode and I'm not going to be able to like, from knowing myself, like it's more challenging for me to spend the morning writing, booking or promotional emails or like, doing correspondence stuff with people writing in or like, that kind of administrative stuff, and then say, okay, now it's 1:00 and I'm going to sit down and have this really beautiful creative experience, and feel totally like zen and tapped into my emotions and ready for that, So what makes a lot more sense for me is to set aside sort of establish blocks of time that are really dedicated so that when it is time for me to say, I'm really feeling like I'd like to step into songwriting mode, that I can actually establish like the emotional groundwork and even just like the spiritual act of commitment to
and intention.
That. Yeah, to really set that intention and be able to dive in more fully so that I don't feel like I don't ever want the creative process to feel like it's intermingling too much with things that like I just want to be able to honor both. And right, I feel like if I try and mix them up too much, then I won't be able to be as fully reverently creative as I want to get. And I always try and, I try and do a little writing every day. I wake up and do my morning pages, definitely I want to keep creativity flowing through each day. But as far as like really committing to the songwriting process, it's important to me to set aside time specifically for that. Yeah. And then, there's a million other things too. I do some sort of side woman work. I like playing guitar with other people and singing background vocals and writing songs with other people and that sort of thing. Right. And you just, you find a way to balance it all. But I also love setting aside time for purely creative activity.
Right. But that has led you, that openness has led you to working with Esperanza Spalding and with Mike Gordon from Phish and the Bruno Major tune that you wrote, which is a great song, and
thanks.
Dweezil Zappa. But circling back, that still involves you doing a little bit of management to make that happen.
Yeah. And I mean, actually those projects that you just mentioned, like most of them they all happened really organically, it was because like with Esperanza, we met at a friend's dinner and, just like all of those things happened pretty organically, but they wouldn't have necessarily happened, if I wasn't, you gotta be on top of your shit, if I let, stuff too many things fall through the cracks, or in my relationships, people thought that I wasn't being respectful because of the, lack of correspondence, or just like a lack of professionalism. Like you gotta kind of stay on your hustle a little bit for things to organically fall into place. It's like,
right.
What's the, there's like a proverb, like pray for rain with a hoe in your hand. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Put it out there and wait for it to organically come, but also be ready when it does.
Right.
Right. And yeah, so it's all about having a balance, but I think you got to you get your work done, and then you prime yourself for like open, expansive, creative experience too.
So it sounds like you take care of yourself really well, emotionally, spiritually, and business wise, also physically. Are you vegetarian? Do you exercise? What's your balance in that area of your life?
I'm kind of glad you brought that up too, because I feel like a lot of times, like it's so important, and for musicians, it's not like we get the health insurance with the benefits and like the free gym membership. We really have to take it upon ourselves to our body is our temple, and our body is our instrument, and I just think it's so important. We have to really take it upon ourselves and take that initiative to find ways that work for each unique person to keep our bodies in tune. For me, I really like running when I'm on the road. I like it a lot because it's a great way to see a new city, and it just keeps my blood pumping. I don't run as much anymore because some of my knees get kind of funky sometimes. It's because I'm 30 now.
Welcome to 30.
Right. But I really like hiking and stuff. But for example, when I was out with Esperanza, a lot of times I'd wake up in the morning. I really like waking up on the earlier side. I'll wake up in the morning and find a vegetarian restaurant that's 3, 4, 5 miles away, and run there, work up appetite, have some vegetarian food, cruise around the neighborhood, see if there's any cool little independent businesses or parks or whatever to check out, digest a little bit, and then run on back or find the hotel or whatever. And that way I get to experience a little bit of the city from the kind of the ground level as a pedestrian, and I'll just try and mix it up. But I definitely I try and keep in my daily routine, I try and keep journaling and meditation and yoga and some kind of hopefully some kind of more invigorating exercise just to keep myself in tune. And it's not perfect for sure. Sometimes it's hard when you're flying all over the place, or sitting in the car and driving a lot, or sitting at the computer and driving or working a lot. But yeah, I definitely try and not let myself cut that corner. It's easy to be oh, I don't have time.
Right.
But to me, it's also, there's a really tangible difference. If I have, 6 hours to get something done, and my temptation is to go, I need every minute of those 6 hours. But realistically for me, if I exercise for 1 hour of that time, then I'll use the other 5 hours way more efficiently.
Right.
So trying to fit in a little meditation and exercise, and prioritizing, for me, plant-based, but whatever your body wants, that's ethical, just healthy food. So crucial.
So, and thank you for answering that. And I'm really glad that you're taking such great care of yourself.
Thanks. It's a work in progress all the time, right?
It really is important. And one of my pet peeves, when I was in Berkeley, was that there was no emphasis on nutrition or physical education. And I blasted them. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I complained to them.
I mean, now they have a gym and stuff.
They do? That's great.
It's crazy now. Yeah.
Good. Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
How do you do things independently? And we're going to get to music in a moment, which is, of course, our passion. But as an independent artist, how did you book yourself on the Stephen Colbert Show, or end up performing at the Sydney Opera House? Things
both of those things I did with Esperanza.
Okay.
So I had no role in booking those.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Those things were a part of when I was a part of Esperanza's project. But I have booked myself probably 1,200, 1,300 shows of my own.
Around the world. Yeah. Not just.
Yeah. I'm like, I think like 30 countries or something like that.
Right.
Which, is kind of a lot in its own way. Thanks to the internet for making the world a lot more, well, that's a whole separate conversation, but in many ways making things a lot more connected. I started realizing when I was in college and I had a couple of these like videos and you see the analytics for who's watching and you're like, Indonesia. Okay. And then I just want to, there's this huge part of me that just wants to explore the world and kind of ride the wave and see where I can let music take me and use that as this vehicle and this connective force across cultures and geography. And so I really made that a goal, really my central goal for several years, to just sort of explore the world, just me and my guitar. It kind of happened in a bunch of different ways. Like I remember once I was watching these things online that, the feedback on different social media things and seeing there were small amounts of people watching around Southeast Asia. And so I was just kind of like, I think once I get over there, it's pretty affordable and it's a beautiful part of the world. And I'd love to connect with some of these people that are listening, and I think I can make it work. So like, it's all about, for me, kind of finding those cornerstone gigs and opportunities. I don't know about doing this nowadays, but at the time I wrote like proposal emails to all of the American consulates and embassies in each of the Southeast Asian countries to see if they, because I don't know about now again, but they often have like an arts budget and education budget where they will sometimes bring over performers or educators to schools, and it opens a lot of doors that you ordinarily would not be able to find. And so I did some of that. And I think I wrote every consulate and embassy, and maybe like 2 or 3 of them were down, and then maybe find like a couple of festivals. And then once those bigger pieces are in play, then just start looking on, probably at the time it was MySpace, but like Facebook and everything else, and finding like where do the local clubs, like came across this amazing place in Bangkok that these local musicians, they're so cool. These local musicians run, it had like a little recording studio, and it was just like a home that they'd converted into like a speakeasy music venue. Right. And so between like a festival and a government funded gig, I took a band and my friends and I went and played this like house show in Bangkok with all these local funk musicians. And it was so fun. It was like, it just is such a testament to the connective power of music and like the universal qualities that it holds. And so that, it was really powerful. So experience.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
kind of all over the place, but yeah.
Let's talk about your guitar style, which is wonderful. One guitarist to another. I really enjoy your playing, as well as your singing, of course. And so I know it evolved because you wanted to really keep things interesting when you were doing solo work and incorporating elements of bass and drums and sort of implying the full band, perspective. So, tell me about, can you elaborate on that? Sure.
That kind of hits the nail on the head. I think like a lot of my guitar style, so often like one way that people will characterize it is like, oh, there's, elements of bass and elements of drums or rhythm that are being incorporated. Or, when I'm learning cover tunes, for example, like if I'm learning a Stevie tune, I'm definitely going to pull some elements from the keys, from the horns, and I want to have the bass line and like sort of right hand rhythmic stuff present that can emulate some of what might be going on the drums, because I play so much solo that it keeps it interesting for me, and I hopefully it keeps it more engaging from an audience perspective too. And then it's not I don't ever want to copy anything verbatim, so it allows me to kind of put it through my own filter, and it's fun.
And when you travel, do you do you just take one electric guitar with you and a couple of pedals and rent an amp, or are you bringing acoustic guitars, or how's that
Right
work?
now, I just travel with like a hollow body, semi-hollow body, like a 335 or something.
Right.
I have a 335 that I'm borrowing right now. And I like that because it bridges the gap between acoustic and electric pretty well.
Yeah.
And then I take like a small pedal board with just like a tuner and a drive and a trem and a verb delay combo. And then I try to either like borrow or rent or backline, find amps. Occasionally I have to go direct, but I try and get amps when I can.
Mm-hmm. And what about endorsements? How have you developed your relationships with Gibson and D'Angelico and some of the other companies that you work with? Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them?
It's been both. Yeah, it works both ways. I think a lot of times it happens pretty organically, or sometimes I'll, like submit via email or just reach out to folks, or maybe meet through friends or at NAMM or something, or on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, it's all, like you said, it's like relationships. So
I think
really,
that's the more important part of the question is what's your philosophy about endorsements? It seems like you are a relationship-based type of person, and that's always the kind of endorsement relationships that I encourage. With people.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of times the endorsement, the potential for endorsement is kind of seen as like, how do I get free stuff, which is cool. Everybody wants free stuff, but really, I want to play gear from people who I think are doing great work, and then hopefully we can support each other. So like, like for example, there's a friend of mine here in LA named John Reed, who just moved down from NorCal, and he makes these beautiful guitars out of like ethically sourced fallen old growth redwood. Like after the trees fall, he collects it and makes these beautiful guitars. And he's an example of someone where I just love his work, and I want to I'd love to like make music with it and put that out in the world. And so those are really, as they should be, very expensive guitars. And so I'm not in a place to buy one, even at a discount right now, but I can borrow them and use them in videos and use them on recordings. And, I just, similar to the way that I make music with my heart and soul and body and sweat and everything, there's all these great makers that are doing a very similar thing, and like pedals, effects makers too, that I just, like Earthquaker and Keeley are both companies that I work with. And I love representing their stuff because they make really cool, creative tools. Right. So, it's just mutual support and co-creative process.
That's how I view it as well. I'm happy to hear that you see it the same way, and that, that's the best. And these are the relationships that continue because they're relationships.
For sure.
Emily, what's changed, especially now that you're turning 30, in 10 days? What's changed about your playing and your perspective in life as you've gotten older?
That's a really good question. I mean, it seems to me, and I'm of course relatively, I don't know, you better than I do, and people older than you, have even more wisdom. But it seems to me that like my gratitude keeps deepening. It's like, when you're fresher on the planet and fresher in your body, in some ways, I think little kids are like, they have all this gratitude because they're being given so much, they're being supported so much. But as you get older too, and you realize in less obvious ways, seemingly less direct ways, all of the ways that you're supported, and it's like, I recognize my mortality a little bit more, and therefore, everything that works really well in my body, I'm just like astonished by and so grateful for, and it makes me want to take better care of it. And I feel that way, like with my body, I feel that with my relationships and with the earth and my music. It's like just a deepening sense of kind of awe and gratitude. And I think as an extension of that, I feel just like, such motivation and also want to, and like reverence and wanting to honor, the balance and find a way to kind of dance through life as gracefully as I can, like pour myself into my music and honor my partnership and honor my family and find ways to support the people and the principles that I value. So yeah, it's a deepening. It's so cool. I have some like older, friends in their 70s and 80s that are musicians that I like really admire.
Me too. Yeah.
And they have this vitality that I think comes from gratitude, and it's, it's so cool. It's such a awesome thing to aspire to. And musically, I think it's kind of another branch off the same tree. It's like, I don't necessarily just want to be, more knowledgeable. I want to grow into more wisdom. Like I want to listen more. And I think I do. For so long, I just played alone, and there's so much beauty in that. And I've learned so much. And now I also am using all these different muscles. I really like writing with other people, which I used to be a little afraid to do because it, puts you on the spot in a different way. And I really like playing in other people's bands, which is cool because it uses different muscles and you get to support someone else's vision, and try and stretch myself in terms of what I'm learning on the guitar or the writers that I'm studying or the way that I'm making a record and sharing it. So yeah, it's all, I think, I don't know. I'm just trying to deepen the process and just continue to be more grateful and lean into more wisdom.
You keep bringing up the word grateful, and I really appreciate that because that's such an integral part of having a good life and totally. Creating art, and in the collaborating that you're doing, and it's refreshing to hear you bring it up multiple times.
Yeah, well, it's astonishing. It's so cool. I mean, we're independent artists, there's so many of us. There's like, and I know it's like sometimes the hustle can be kind of overwhelming. It's like you're always
exhausting.
Yeah. But even with all the hustling in the world, we would have nothing if it wasn't for community. And so like that, I'm just continually blown away by. And it's this cool thing that, it absolutely can happen purely grassroots and does without the internet, but the internet too, like brings it right up where you can share something and people can receive it and respond, and it becomes this like circuit of energy exchange. And that is a really cool thing that I think when that's infused with gratitude and authenticity, then like, yeah, it's amazing, it can take you anywhere. Yeah, to feel that it shows too, like, I don't know if you're into meditation, but just like, when you can drop into space.
I am,
yeah. Then
I'm a martial artist
like,
also. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Then you definitely know, like when you feel, and of course there's all kinds of times now where we have like a million tabs open in our brain and we're all over the place. But like when you feel super present, and I feel that way on stage so often where it's that energy circuit. It's like giving and receiving and kind of everything, like kind of just, you can feel the current move through the room. And it's, that I'm so humbled by that. And it feels so incredible. And it happens too. Like if you play with another musician, and jamming, like any of those activities that just make you feel really present. And yeah, I can't help but feel really humbled and grateful for that.
Yeah, I can see it in your eyes when I watch your performance videos.
Oh, thanks.
Because your eyes and your heart are open. So you are letting people into you, and and you're giving back.
Thanks.
It's very clear. It's very clear.
Thanks.
Welcome.
That's a sweet reflection to hear. It's also, that to me is like, that's the power. Like, that's really one of the greatest tools that music provides, is it like helps us open our hearts.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
Emily, we have about 7 minutes left in the conversation. So I want to get to the closing questions that I ask all of my guests. The first is a 2-part question. Since the show is called Making It, what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally? And also, can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career? Yeah. So
those are great questions. Let's see. So making it to me, I'm thinking out loud here, but I'd say being on a path of continual growth, never just being like, okay, I'm done. But so I think making it to me, in order for it to be making it, is an ongoing process. And so continual growth.
Right. The show is not called Made It. It's called Making It.
Exactly.
So I agree with you.
Yeah. Like, check. Is continual growth and like joy and gratitude, which I think beget more experiences that in turn open up the door for more joy and gratitude, and like making a positive impact. Which can be it can be in an activist in like an activism sphere. It can be, it can be that. It can also be having a song touch someone's heart. So yeah, I would say living in a state where you feel joy and gratitude, and committing to continual growth, and finding a way to work where you make a positive impact. That's said. Making it to me.
Yeah.
And hopefully with all of that, and all the other work, it allows for continuing exploration and abundance and all of these things. But that's kind of at the core of it. And then the other question was
3 tips for success that have driven your career. Success. Yeah.
Like speaking authentically to what's on your heart and really listening to your heart. That's one, I think, tool that meditation teaches us, is like, let there be silence and stillness so that the voice inside you has room to speak, and then do your work to give that voice power, to be able to share it in the most loving and effective way possible. That to me, I feel like all the great artists that I really admire, Joni and Stevie and Jimmy and Nina Simone and all these people, like they really tuned into that internal voice, and put the work in, at the instrument, at all of the sort of systems and little pathways that help us use our instruments to support our lives. So like on the business side, and the correspondence with listeners and all kinds of people, and at the actual instrument, just got to be down to put the work in. Spend those finger bleeding late nights and,
right.
All that. And then community building, that's one thing I really love about being in LA, is being able to go out and like witness my peers and my heroes play music all the time, and just being a part of an audience and being in awe of music, and also, collaborating and that sort of thing. So I think community building with fans and listeners and fellow musicians, that would be my third one.
Great tips. My final question for you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
At this point of your life, Emily, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
And probably all those things we just covered. But
that's a fair answer. And
yeah,
those would be wonderful things to hear when you're a child.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know. I think that's kind of my message to my younger self. I hope to keep like living it out. There were some people when I was really just starting out, like that let me open for them, or showed me some guitar tips, or that sort of thing. And I never forget that. And so I hope to cultivate some of that too. Again, the internet is cool because it lets us connect with folks like that. But I think that's kind of what I would want to share with my younger self, is that authenticity and put the work in, and community building. Yeah.
So we have about a minute left. The floor is yours. Can you tell everybody where they can find you, and your website and anything else you'd like to share?
So pretty much all of my stuff on the internet is pretty easily findable under my name, which is Emily Elbert, Elbert, which is treble backwards, coincidentally enough, if that helps your memory. And so it's emilyelbert.com, and all the social stuff is under my name too. And yeah, the new music, I just put a little store on my website where people can buy physical copies if they want, but otherwise it's all on the internet. Shall you feel called to take a listen?
Do you sell a lot of merch, by the way? I saw that you've got some cool things on your store page.
Yeah, some. I just started, I just, those t-shirts and the bags are new, and the USBs are kind of on the newer side too. For people that want like the whole discography and everything, but like a lot of people don't even have CD players. So,
Right.
It's a mix. Yeah. I think my audience tends to be kind of varied in, age and technological, inclinations.
Awareness.
And
Sure.
so I have some folks that really want hard copy CDs, and hopefully soon I'll have like LPs, vinyl. But some people just want Spotify and a t-shirt. And so, hopefully I have something for everybody. So, yeah.
Emily, it's been such a pleasure to share the hour with you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, really nice to talk with you too, Terry. Thanks.
And I encourage all of our listeners to just Google Emily, and go watch some of the YouTube videos, and go spend some money and buy an album. You'll be happy that you did.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks everybody, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.